3 wins from 4 for the Martin O'Neill and Shaun Maloney dream team. 11 goals scored domestically. The gap's been closed on Hearts and we're in the League Cup final. But will they still be in charge by the time we return from the international break? Paddy, what's the answer to that?
I think they will be. I think there's been a few murmurings that, you know, he's kind of signed off after the presser yesterday, but it's not that Martin O'Neill will be aware of what the next step is at the moment. I have every faith in O'Neill kind of continuing at this point just now. I don't have any faith in the board getting a replacement ready in this international break, so yes, I think they'll still be in charge.
Do you want them still to be, or is it just what you think will play out?
I think it's what will play out. I think for me, we should have a plan in place. It's now gone how many weeks? Since
two exact weeks.
Still no comment in the progress of searching for a new manager. Very quick with our 2 statements on the evening of Brendan Rodgers' resignation, but still nothing about what the search is looking like it's going to shape up to be. You can tell that Martin O'Neill is a man that is not aware of what the next steps are as well. So all very Celtic at the moment. I don't think it's fair on O'Neill coming into this international break. What message is he given to the players? What message is he given to the team? I've just got a feeling that will continue.
James, I spoke about this on the Daily this morning, and as touched on there, it's 2 weeks, it's almost 2 weeks to the minute actually since it all hit the fan, and there's been statements and counter statements and statements for everybody in recent times, but the statement that is missing just now is one from the club, even just a holding statement to say, we're on the case, we're speaking to suitable candidates, we hope to have an announcement in the coming days or weeks or whatever, but there's nothing there, and it would seem like an easy one actually just to put something out to reassure us, because at the moment we need all the reassurance we can get.
Maybe, you know, they can have the news as there's no news. I mean, would they put the statement out saying O'Neill and Maloney were coming in, we're working in the background on finding the suitable candidate? I think that's plenty. I'm quite relaxed about it all. I suppose there's a wee bit of one thing I'm noticing, and we noticed it all the way back to Ange and maybe beyond, is that Celtic are pretty disgraceful for what they let their manager have to deal with. That's got nothing to do with O'Neill. The presser asked him every time he's put a microphone in front of his face, and it's like, what am I meant to tell you, you know? So Celtic should have someone who's to deal with business management stuff. The good doctor should be stepping in somewhere here, or someone, and taking, so O'Neill can just go, football matters, lads, what do you want to talk about? And just bounce that off. I don't know why they're asking him every time, because he's got nothing to tell you. As for Celtic, I'm quite patient about it. I'd rather be patient to get the right person than be panicking to just get someone in for the sake of it, you know?
There's a statement in the last few days, not deal with all that, and it takes a bit of the heat off O'Neill, and it just allows him to do the football stuff, which is all he's here to do.
Maybe. I think Celtic is pretty much on fire at the moment. Given, you know, this precedes Rodgers' departure. It was on fire since whenever. You know, there was issues all over the place. There's talk of changing the exec team. You've got your majority owner or your major owner coming in and having to do your job for you and all these kind of things. So Celtic is on fire as a corporation at the moment. So they probably just went, right, that can wait. That kind of stuff is the preserve of a well-organised organisation, which we are not.
Yeah, and I suppose it brings us to where we're at, because they are on fire, but the football operation is the most important thing. Yes, we all care about different things, comms and strategies and stadium banners and various things of that nature, but the football part of it is the most important thing, and we're very much in the dark. I mean, you and I spoke post-match last night after the game. Do you want to see Martin O'Neill get the cup final, for example, 14th of December? Do you think you will?
Probably is my answer to that. I was in agreement with Paddy around. I think we will still see O'Neill and Maloney in, just because it seems to be a lot of guesswork that's going on in the media just now, rather than anything really
concrete
firm or concrete. But I think what we're seeing now is just a continuation of why the fans are protesting. The lack of communication, the lack of guidance or any sort of, you know, inkling as to what we're actually doing. And I get your point, James, no news is good news and all that type of thing, but an idea in the timeline would be good for those reasons, because Martin O'Neill has been exposed to quite a lot and left to firefight quite a lot in the public eye. We're lucky that he's such a good speaker that he seems to be able to handle that, but James is absolutely right. He's just been kind of left to just go and win games and kind of deal with the press while we just got on with this in the background. What can they tell us? Maybe we're shooting for the moon a bit, expecting them to come out with any definite detail. But I suspect they'll remain in situ for the cup final. And I think the reason for that is I don't think Celtic know who they want.
I mean, that could be a massive reason, and maybe they're not releasing a statement because they don't have the confidence that they can name somebody in the next week, 2 weeks, month. I mean, if they think if the target maybe isn't available to January, but they've not got that locked in, they don't have a left egg in their face either.
Whoever the target is, it feels like we're waiting on someone. That's
Or
definitely the feeling.
Are we waiting on change? I've got a little bit of hope.
AGM change?
Yeah, potentially. And I think that it's maybe a bit of restructuring that needs to take place, and they're thinking it all kind of comes together and it's like a bit of a reset. There's still got to be questions asked, and I'm pretty sure that if Desmond remains in his position, which he will, there's still got to be questions asked about his hold on Celtic and the fact that he is allowed to come in and make a statement on the official website and go above the board that's in place. So if there is movement and if there's a bit of a restructuring and the fans can get on board with that, I think that gives a clearer platform for the players to be able to then for the fans to then look forward to a new announcement. It takes the pressure off that new manager as well when there could be a case of uncertainty. But just remains to be seen. I think something along the lines of, listen, the search is continuing would be fine just to appease supporters at this point in time. I feel that we're kind of owed something along those lines. As I say, it was quite a quick fire double statement we got that night. I still think that needs to be kind of backed up in a sense. But I was also kind of thinking in terms of Anil on Thursday with a lot of fans after it saying, yep, he's not the man. I'm not necessarily saying that he is the man.
What's he working with?
What's he working with? I think there's got to be that element of understanding this isn't a strong squad, and he's actually managing to get a tune out of them for what we've seen yesterday as well. So no, I think that I would be okay with Anil up to the end of the year, for example. But I also don't want the pressure to be removed from the board. I still think they need to be acting on things pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's fair. James, I actually thought, to an extent, Martin O'Neill sounded a wee bit tired, almost a wee bit frazzled when he spoke post-match yesterday. He's genuinely, as Paddy says, he's as in the dark as anybody else in this room at this moment in time, I believe. But I don't know if he's got the energy to do it to the turn of the year. He's only been back 2 weeks, 4 games, relentless turnarounds, Hampden, off to Denmark, all of that stuff. I think he's enjoyed it. I think he's delighted to be back at Celtic. But I think it's quite a lot to take on board, and I think he's maybe just reconsidering his options during this wee break.
Yeah, potentially. But I think he's just tired as anyone would be. This time 2 weeks ago, Martin O'Neill sitting wondering when Brookside's coming on, just relax for the evening, get the eclairs out, and all of a sudden he's got 2 games a week, including European ties, beating Rangers in a cup semi-final. It's a lot to take on for anyone, particularly someone who's semi-retired doing punditry work and management association work and stuff like that. So I think it's just the intensity of that period, and he can go. I think he's headed back down south, bit of time with the family. And whether he comes back rejuvenated or not, or whether Celtic have made a decision or not, I don't think he's tired of the situation. He's just tired like anyone would be.
But that will continue. It's a relentless December programme. Do you feel he's got the energy for that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, because I think it's the zero prep time to get your head around the challenge ahead for the next 2 weeks. And he's got a couple of weeks now to just work out what's coming up in the next 3-4 weeks. If I'm going to be here, here's what I'm going to be doing.
And it's very Martin O'Neill. He's got people doing the groundwork.
Aye.
He shows up and gets the show going. You know.
Do you just call him a lazy?
I did. The whole Seville run was John Robertson.
He's talking up your pal Yang. You should be just get right behind him.
Yang worked wonders. I was talking down my pal Yang during the game and then talking him up again after the game. One thing we can't deny, let's leave Yang to the side for now. He is getting the best out of some guys. Arne Engels playing better. Callum McGregor doing his thing. Callum Osmond, albeit briefly, very unfortunate situation there. Austin Trusty. Let's talk about Austin Trusty, Miff. He's been a real standout since he came back in.
Yeah, fantastic. And again, we were told by the previous manager that
he who can't be named.
Certain players can play in certain sides of the pitch and things like that. And for whatever reason, in fairness to Brendan Rodgers, he likes to play a very structured game. So it was obviously with all of that in mind. However, there seems to have just been a bit more of a, just a direct approach where you're not necessarily trying to overthink it too much. You're just playing players where they need to be played, or playing players of sufficient experience where they need to be played.
Best players in the park.
And you're putting them on the pitch in the right position, saying, right, just go and do a job for me. And I think that's what's working well.
Question for you, just I mentioned last week that they kind of really, really tightly controlled, over-controlled, over-elaborate play that Rodgers deploys. Do you think there's any benefit or credit to be given to that, because that's the kind of game you need to play if you're playing at a higher level? Like, can we play this level of football, this type of football at a higher level, Bayern Munich, for example? Is there any credit in that, or is it just play as good as you can?
Yeah, I think, you can't walk past the fact that in February we were very close to progressing
but do
against
you
it.
Specifically need to do what Rodgers does and be kind of like
I don't
over-controlling?
I think what you're finding now, certainly as football has evolved, you're finding that flexibility is becoming key, whether that be through formation, personnel, or playing style. I think that's generally what works well for the better teams, and even you're seeing Pep sort of embrace that now that they've changed up their game, playing more direct to Haaland at times and things. And he's generally the litmus test, isn't he, of how football's being played, because he played a very, very definitive way, playing out for the back, trying to attract teams in so that you can hit them in space. Now everybody wants to press up high, like Klopp's teams did, like Pep's teams did, and all that type of thing. Hansi Flick, all these modern coaches. So people are going direct to avoid that now. And the number 9's back in vogue and all these types of things. So I think fans would have liked to have seen maybe a wee bit more flexibility in what Celtic did. I think the most we got was Johnny Kenny being on the park at the same time as Iheanacho at a time when we were 2-0 down. Aside for that, it was all very, very samey and going back to the same players to do the same things. And I think it's all the more galling in what we have seen since. There have been injuries, admittedly. It's not like, you can say that O'Neill and Maloney have come in and plucked these players from nowhere, but there probably was no choice but to play Trusty, to be perfectly honest, especially after the game Murray had at Tynecastle. I think you were actually trying to protect him to a degree.
It's done the same way Simpson Pusey taking Ralston at the firing line. So it shows it can be done for the right reasons.
Yeah, and the Osmond one's probably the one that you have to credit the coaching staff with that one.
Maloney picked him up, apparently, as did Steve McManus from spending time with him.
But also, I would say I would agree with the points that you're saying about individuals seem to have played a bit better, but I think that's just down to, one, the atmosphere, because there is no doubt there was an ego war going on clearly behind the scenes between the manager and members of the board, and now it turns out Dermot Desmond as well. So that would straight away that would have an impact, because obviously the senior players would more than likely know about that.
No doubt. The captain must have known about those things, and it filters through.
They would have known about that. But then secondly as well, just that freshness. I would imagine those who benefited from Rodgers' coaching, even after a while, you've got the danger of it going stale because it's repetitive, but also it demands quite a lot out of certain players. But flip that with maybe just playing a wee bit more direct, different coaching staff coming in, freshening things up, and you're getting that wee extra 5%, which can make all the difference. Certainly domestically, I know the Midtjylland game's a bit of a disaster, but the roots of that go back to the summer and the lack of meaningful investment. So we're back in this mad situation, and I've seen so many online debates about it where if you'd said to Celtic fans on the Saturday night before we played the semi-final against Rangers and against Midtjylland, would you take beating Rangers 3-1 and going through to the final, as long as you beat Rangers, and take a shellacking off Midtjylland, would you take it? 90% of Celtic fans go, I no bother.
Because you're a petty man.
I no bother.
But it gets us to a cup final. They're still in Europe as well. But I know what you're saying.
But ultimately, if you invest correctly, you win both.
You win both.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We were talking obviously at the beginning of this run of games, that 7 games that we should winning.
Are we still in that run just now?
Absolutely.
I lost track.
We're still in it. We're still in the
We
run.
lost game 1 and I thought,
Countdown is over.
These next 5 games. These next 5 games.
To the rest of the season. No, I think there's a huge element just now though with, I think there's a lot more freedom. I do think that the players have got a lot more freedom, and there will be a bit of weight off the shoulders. There will be those players that are getting a bit more time on the park now as well. They're playing with a more creative freedom than I think we've had in a long time, and that's okay. That's the O'Neill way in terms of the direct play that we've seen under Martin O'Neill. It wasn't always play it out the back. I can think of all the times Baldy would try and switch along diagonal. Varga and Mayalby would all do the same as well. So I think that it's it's nice to see it. It's something new, it's something refreshing, and it's wondering now, right, who do we then have in the mould that kind of matches a very similar style of what the Seville team was? Do we have an enforcer in the midfield? Do we have someone that's going to take the game with the scruff of the neck? I think, as we spoke about with Callum McGregor, he looked very slight against Midtjylland alongside Engels and Negrin. We get bullied. Their midfield was solid against us. So do we go back into the same mould as that? Do we start thinking along those lines? Because I do think football is starting to kind of come back round to that idea of tactics.
100%. The big concern, however, about potentially keeping Martin O'Neill in charge till the turn of the year is you've got this really important January window. So do you keep him in place till whatever, the bells, and then somebody comes in January and immediately needs the players to fit his system, whatever his system may be, and then you're chasing your tail a wee bit to find suitable players for that manager. You can see the challenges of that. James, let me ask you about two guys who are faring really quite differently under the new regime. Johnny Kenny, he's excelling. I think he's now joint top scorer on 5 with Negren. Got the call up today for the Ireland squad, which was great to see. And on the other side of things, Paulo Bernardo, who's effectively disappeared. Your thoughts on those two?
Yeah, I mean, Bernardo's getting, I mean, it's scant chances he is getting, but then when he's getting them, he's not taking them as well.
But every chance he's done his hammy, because that seems to be very...
It's
in vogue.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think he's a classy player. I really do. But it doesn't matter how classy you are if you can't show it on the pitch, whether, the way that Rodgers managed him, I don't know if it's really set him back psychologically, because he doesn't seem to be able to bring anything when he comes on the pitch now. It wasn't that long ago he was the guy that was getting relied on away in Europe to break things up and retain the ball and all these things, and he's years away from that.
I remember when we came up against Atletico Madrid at home a couple of years back, drew 2 each, Louis Palma scored that night, and I'm sure Bernardo got the nod that time. That was when he was in a wee purple patch. Yeah. He's regressed quite notably since then, and see if Brendan Rodgers not playing him has knocked him so bad mentally, then he won't ever make it at Celtic, because that's the challenge. You've got to say, this has been a tough time, but I'm going to show you that I'm made of sterner stuff, and maybe we're doing him a disservice. We don't know the detail, but he's right out of the loop, Paddy.
He's had a lot of injuries in his time. I think he's probably been on the injury list more than he's been available to play. To be honest, I do think there is an element of, there'll be people saying he's just still not at a point where he can get a run in the team without a concern of doing an injury, bringing back an old injury and flaming that up. We need to be careful with it. I think that when we look at the amount of players that we're losing at the moment with the hamstring injuries, we can't have that list continuing. But then the next point for Paulo Bernardo is that what's the next step? What's the next step in his career at Celtic? I'm not necessarily sure that it's down to his ability. I don't think you play at the level that he's playing at with Portugal, even though he's coming into a bit more of a different stage of his career now. He needs to be knocking on the door and making sure he is getting into these teams. I just think that there's an element of maybe these injuries have knocked him more than what he's been getting from Brendan Rodgers. I'm not standing up for Rodgers, just so you know. I just think there's an element of, it could be mental, could be psyche with him, but I also think at the back of his head he's thinking, I'm one knock away from being injured and out long term again.
Yeah, for those who are listening instead of watching, Miff was giving you some serious side eye there.
Wasn't it Brendan's fault? No. Wasn't it Brendan's fault? No.
Just to lean on to some of the stuff that Paddy was saying there, Miff, the injuries is a thing, right? So obviously we've got a number of hamstring injuries all of a sudden, most recently Marcello Sirachi yesterday. Just bad luck? Something we're doing or not doing? What do you think of that? I mean, it can happen to any player at any time, but it does seem coincidental we've got 4 or 5 at the moment.
Changing the weather. As a flying machine myself, old Tammy's would get it first when the weather changed.
Still pretty mild.
Listen,
we're just blaming November and the hammies.
November. I'm putting it down to bad luck, but I'll go back to Paddy's point on Bernardo. I think it's completely psychological. Bernardo, completely. He has a tremendous amount of talent, and I just wish, I really hope that we get to see it in a Celtic jersey. I fear that, given he was on the slide under Rodgers and not featuring, and that a new management team have come in who seem to have breathed life into the vast majority of the squad and are getting more of a tune out of them, and he's the exception, that worries me a bit.
Shows you how big the head game is. Bernardo versus Negrin. Who's the better player?
Oh,
Right,
100%.
but Negrin thinks he's amazing,
Yep.
so he delivers. You know what I
I
mean?
quite like players that think they're better than they are, though, because it means they just go out and play with that freedom and they don't care. You have to say, like him or not, Negrin has got a strong mentality because he keeps missing chances and he keeps turning up for the next. And I admire that. I genuinely do.
He's really forgetful.
Off the ball, his movement's really good though. That's the
Good
thing.
goldfish.
Well, with him, he's getting into some incredible positions.
I've
It's
never
just
having
on
it.
the no, it's on the ball. It's just like,
murder.
oh my god,
He's no murder. He's annoying. I don't know
it's
why,
annoying.
but I don't know why.
Yeah.
But
There's every chance he's going to end up top scorer and player of the year, despite all these shouts here.
I just think he, there's wee elements missing to his game, but I'm not having that he's murder. We've had worse players than that.
100%.
That's no the yardstick.
Let's move on. Obviously, we've speculated about how long O'Neill and Maloney will stay in situ, but we can't not look at the options for the next manager at this moment in time. It's an ever-changing list. You can read it a bit into the bookies' favourite and all that stuff, but that means very little in the bigger picture. But the names that continue to do the rounds are Kjetil Knutson at Bodo Glimt, Wilfried Nancy over at Columbus Crew in the MLS, Kieran McKenna at Ipswich, Roberto Martinez doing his thing with Portugal, Nicky Hyen out at Bruges, and various other names. But I read you out a quote that's doing the rounds today from Kjetil Knutson, though, which kind of seems to put the brakes on it. He says, we'll see now if we can get things moving a bit. I don't really have the energy to talk about it, to be honest. Sorry, this is in relation to his potential new contract at Bodo. He said, I think we've had 5 matches in 13 days, so there hasn't been much time for contract matters, but we're in control. The coach, who has led Bodo Glimt since 2018, confirmed that he had no plans to leave the club, and he went on to say, I don't have any plans to do that, but I hope you won't throw me out either. We have to find the right balance, but I think we'll get it settled very soon. So that sounds like he's keen to stay, and that would put us back to square one.
What you're saying is he's staying unless he's bagged, and I've heard that before.
Oh, aye, unless he... What was that part again?
Unless they bag me.
Unless they bag me. But we'll take him at face value. It would seem that he's staying where he is, so that seemed to be the number one target for a lot of us. I'd be quite intrigued if he got the job, but it doesn't seem to be a goer, according to that.
It would be interesting for me only because it might even be interesting from the interview point of view if they'd spoke to him, because he would say, what's your structure like? They went, oh, it's a shambles, obviously. And he would say, well, go and make it not a shambles. They went, nah. So
I mean, he might have spoke to Celtic last week,
that's what I mean.
and he's now said, I'll stay where I'm, thanks.
Those interviews might be enough to start pushing Celtic into action on their structure, because everyone's going, look at the Nicky, your club, run your club.
Did
We're
Ange not do that? Did Ange not do that though?
Ange did everything.
No, but what I'm saying is he called it out though.
Oh,
Yeah. And
What a guy.
what we're promised, right? What we understand we need to fix this.
Yeah, I mean, they brought in the good doctor, and that's been about it.
Some coaches might look at it and go, that's a bit of a shambles. I'm not touching it. Some might look at it and go, I fancy that challenge. I can make that sleeping giant big again.
But they have to be malleable within the club. You know, if the club say, look, it's a mess and we need you to come in and we'll give you a bit of help to fix it, fair enough. But you can't take on the challenge when the guys are actively working against you fixing the challenge, which, to be fair,
Yeah.
Rodgers came up against, Ange came up against, you know.
Sitting in the middle of the interview, why is that doctor sitting there? This dude just sitting making his...
He's not even a real doctor.
Yeah.
So they turn in and say, we don't know.
I don't know.
We don't know.
Just turns up every day.
With a fedora.
Aye, he's sit there with a 5-piece suit and a purple trilby on. Okay, so as mentioned, Paddy, the hope is that we can kind of take action sooner rather than later. As mentioned, the January window's big, potentially season defining if you're chasing after Hearts and maybe hanging on to the threads of any sort of European campaign. You never know, but we face a difficult January anyway, because we know there's potential for 3 guys to go to the African Cup of Nations, which is Tuneki, Balakwisha. He can go there now if he wants, in Ian Acho. And then you've got Maeda and Yang, who kind of had one foot out the door, but Maeda has responded in recent times. It's going to be difficult, Miff, with this squad already stretched so thinly to manage through January.
Yes, it's and to go back to your point you'd mentioned earlier when you were talking about the potential for Martin O'Neill staying, buying players for his style of football, etc. I think this is the litmus test of the club signing. For all the rhetoric there's been for Rodgers about signings coming for the club then firing back that everything went through him, which is a load of
Yeah.
I don't need any excuse to
BS, mate.
put a wee bit of blame to Rodgers' store, but as far as that goes, you just know that is patently not true. So any well-run football club would have January already pretty much lined up and sorted just now, because you would know who your targets were, you would start your negotiations, you would have an idea based on the club's overall structure, style of play, the types of players you'd want to bring in, regardless of who the coach is. But we know we are not that well-run club.
No.
So what is January going to bring? Because we desperately need reinforcements. Desperately, the squad is so thin. So it's an intriguing time, but I do think we will spend because we have to spend. But whether or not it's to our satisfaction as a fan base will be a completely different matter.
Yeah, it will be. I've bounced a few names out there: Wilfried Nancy, Kieran McKenna, Roberto Martinez, Nicky Hyen, etc. Any thoughts on them in general, or anyone else that's come to the fore in recent times?
Hyen would be my pick, again, if he brings his CEO, but when you're on the form they're on, do you know what I mean? Bruiser just up and up and up. Why? Why would he move?
Money talks, that's why he'd move.
Jenky's on.
Don't know if he's getting $3 million a year there. We could offer him $3 million.
Probably not, no.
So that's a something.
The big thing for me, for us to get a good manager, we need a good structure, and that's going to be the stumbling block for Celtic. I don't think there's many that put themselves in there, unless maybe a newer, up and up newer manager, someone that's got a bit of experience that we're all hopeful for. It's a big risk for them on their CV.
The other consideration in all of this around the appointment of a manager is the reason for the delay is the board being bold enough to wait and see how it goes and appoint the cheapest possible appointment, being Shaun Maloney.
Yeah.
And by the way, that is not ridiculous.
I think
it's not ridiculous.
He's the coach, but that only works in that dynamic. I don't think you can then say, right, Martin, all the best, right, Shaun, you're everything now. I don't think that works.
Bring in another front man.
Unless it was pinned.
Mick Jagger.
Martin was going to take a step back or like a step up to director of football and work alongside Shaun Maloney for the remainder of the season. I could see something like that happening.
That's my point. I think if they can get away with it, they'll do that.
100%.
No doubt about that.
It's the MO.
I'm going to push back on it a bit. I don't think it would be unheard of if they'd done that. And a couple of weeks ago, I wouldn't have found myself entertaining it at all. But the cheapest option thing, I think, it's a wee bit misguided, because this club have spent money stupidly at times. You could argue they've kind of frittered away money in millions here, there and everywhere. They've given Brendan Rodgers $3 million a year, whether you like that or not. They bought Arne Engels for 11. They bought Austin Trusty for 6. They bought Paulo Bernardo for 4 or 5, whatever. They've spent money. They're not just looking at the cheapest option. Do you think they're going to go, Shaun's here for $1 million a year, Nicky Hines there for 3, just go for Shaun?
We're talking about a board that's sitting in £80 million.
No, I know. They should have spent that money better, but they have spent money. But they've spent multi-millions in the last few years.
But they've brought in multi-millions. I don't see that as a point whatsoever.
They know what a manager costs is one of your points.
I don't think they're going to the cheapest option.
Yeah.
I don't think that's...
I don't necessarily think that they're thinking outside the box and actually saying this guy's going to lead us forward, though. I think it's more on the basis of, do you know what he'll do? I do think they go on that.
Let's wait and see.
They can't do that.
Let's wait and see what happens. You're saying that, but this is an argument every year. Every year. It was only last summer. No, that summer, the summer before. Yous were sitting here talking about breaking transfer records. That's why we're signing folk up into long-term contracts. We're going to break the bank. But
that's the hope. That's the forward thinking, the club that we should be in this day and age. I know, but I'm agreeing with you here. Calm the down. But what I'm saying is, you're going back 5-6 years ago where Neil Lennon, we knew it was him the minute he came back. Come on, like there needs to be. When we brought,
I was crestfallen when they announced
Rafa went.
Was that? Peter Law wasn't, because guess what? Easy option.
I think they've made the wrong choice.
Easy option.
But I don't think they're making the cheap choice. I honestly
say cheap. I'd say easy. It's easy. It just fits. We don't need to go digging about. They're a yes man. They're a yes man. Shaun Maloney. Celtic have given him.
I don't think Shaun Maloney's a yes man.
I think he will be.
No,
here's
strong boy.
The last side of it is, they know at this moment in time they're absolutely firefighting, and actually you can put up new banners and you could even build a museum, whatever. The big ticket that is going to get fans back on board is make a big appointment and sign some big players in January. It's the easiest one that the club can make.
The biggest ticket for Celtic fans right now is a restructuring of the board. That is massive.
Do you know what?
Get that right and then hire. I think if they sign
a really good manager right now, people care a bit less about who's on the board.
You can't. The momentum of this cannot stop just now, Rotino.
It's just the reality of it all. It's the reality.
The reality of what? We've been taken for mugs for years now.
But FIPA still is the ultimate call.
Of course it is. But Celtic should, on paper, continue to win football games. We are seeing it in a caretaker situation where players who have not been involved all season are getting an opportunity just now. In the background, they are looking to luck out with Neil and Maloney. Let's be honest, they are. And if it works, they'll look like the hero here. They've made that decision and knew that something good would come of it. Ultimately, it's not good enough. They're still getting away with the fact that we've been poorly run for how long?
But that's why I'm saying, so they being Michael Nichols and Chris Mackay, to an extent, Dermot Desmond and Peter Lawwell, whatever their day-to-day is. The big one is appointing a big manager. That's what I'm saying. This is the gift to them right now.
But they won't.
Well, that remains to be seen.
No, but
I think they will because of that.
I think
It's their best
you're actually both right.
We just
I would
love
say-
Celtic, that's it.
Aye. But it's Celtic. Because you're right.
Done the Nick Cann episode.
If they produce a good appointment, there will be a lot of fans that just go, sack it, bro.
That's all I was saying. That's
But
the reality.
maybe
If you've got
board
100, if you've got 100 angry fans and you appoint a top manager and a couple of good players, you don't have 100 angry
Yep,
fans.
yep.
Worst case scenario, if you get 99,
Aye.
at least one of them's going to win.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean?
My thinking on it is though, guys, right? And listen, Ange, brilliant appointment.
What a guy.
Took us to brought us back from a really tough season and 10 in a row. We bring back Brendan Rodgers. The vision is there. The board speak about the vision that they have. We've seen it for probably 6 months of a season. So it's not been backed. Now
Yeah.
Rodgers might make mistakes in signings. Absolutely, he's not innocent in all of that.
With the template there, but it's among the best football I've ever seen at
But
Celtic.
it's same old, is what I'm meaning. And I think that I get it. It calms things down. But this momentum in terms of what the fans are saying just now, in terms of the board and wanting a restructure, wanting a more open dialogue with the fans, that's got to be the priority, surely.
But maybe all things can be true. They appoint the big manager. Some fans still remain unhappy, which I would expect to be the case. And then the club have got, it's a twofold thing. You appoint the right guy first, and then you've got to back him, not for 6 months, not for 12 months, back him properly for his tenure. Because Brendan Rodgers, whatever you want to say about him just now, he signed a 3-year deal, but get backed for a bit of it. Get backed for kind of year 1.5.
6 months.
Last question at this moment. Do you like quizzes?
I love it.
Thank for that.
Who you like? Small, hairy, fat guys. My child playing at Motherwell Point.
The reason I ask, Paddy, is because we're continuing this week with 5 in a row. For the first 5 listeners to get in touch with all 5 correct answers, win a month free. on our Patreon.
Was I on last week? No, I wasn't on. I'm pretty convinced I get 3, if not 4.
Yeah, so 2 out of 5 for math. I'll run quickly through last week's. Callum Osman became an instant hero with his match-winning goal at Hampden, but what shirt number does he wear for Celtic? Anyone got it?
19.
19. Goalkeeper Voljami Sinisalo aside, Celtic had 3 outfield players who were unused subs at Hampden against Rangers. Name any one of them. It was McCowan, Murray and Yang. Following Callum Osman's debut, there was now only one outfield player yet to make a single appearance this season, excluding goalkeeper Ross Doohan and the injured Jota. Name that player.
No.
Is it Simpson?
JSP.
Yeah.
That's factually incorrect.
He's now in the gang. Celtic signed Austin Trusty from Sheffield United in a deal worth around $6 million. Name any of the other 2 English clubs he's been on the books of. Arsenal and Birmingham City. And finally, interim assistant manager Shaun Maloney had 2 spells at Celtic, 2001 to 7 and 2011 to 15. He won 47 caps for Scotland, but what country was he born in?
Malaysia.
Okay.
Definitely good.
Are you ready for this week's 5 in a row? JSP made his Celtic debut yesterday against Kilmarnock.
Another squad number. I'll need to get through the programme, man.
What shirt number does he wear?
Yeah.
Question number 2. After 11 games, Celtic have conceded the fewest goals in the Scottish Premiership. How many have they conceded? Number 3. The 4-0 win over Killie was our second win over them this season. The other one was a 2-1 win at Rugby Park, where Ian Acho scored the late penalty winner. But who opened the scoring for Celtic that day?
That one.
There.
Question number 4. After the international break, we play St Mirren and Paisley on the 22nd of November. And then what team in match day 5 of our Europa League campaign? And finally, question 5. Interim first team coach Mark Fotheringham only played 3 times for Celtic before moving on in 2003. Can you name any of the other teams he played with during a checkered career before he retired in 2016?
Dead City.
So as before, we'll reveal the answers in next week's show. First 5 to get in touch on tino@thecelticexchange.com will win a month free of our Patreon. It's the only place where you can enjoy additional bonus episodes each and every week, including pre- and post-match shows for every Celtic game, the daily every midweek morning, plus our members-only Celtic chat community. Check it all out now at patreon.com/celticexchange. James, the gap at the top is now 7 points with a game in hand. For you, does the league take priority over any attempts in Europe?
Absolutely. 100%. Just, when you find yourself in such a shambles, protect your league. That's the number one focus, particularly because it's going to be so hard to get into the Champions League anyway with qualifiers. But going back to becoming a Europa team, which, maybe you could argue we are at the moment, maybe you could argue we're not, is one below. But I think you've got to absolutely, I say that, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago, we haven't got the squad for Europe, full stop.
The winning of the Europa League takes you right into Champions League.
All right, Ange, calm down.
Just saying. Miff, where are you at though? Obviously, tough one during the week at Midtjylland, and I think many of us, myself included, went into that with renewed optimism because of the Martin O'Neill effect. But as Paddy mentioned at one point, we were just maybe too stretched and we're just not capable at that level at this moment.
Yeah, the dismantling of the squad is what's catching us out, because you're coming up a higher level of opposition, but also an opposition who, in Midtjylland anyway, who have been run correctly, who have reinvested what they have in the squad correctly, and have a joined up progressive approach. So we're always likely to, what we have done is put a sticking plaster over our issues, and every now and then that's going to come off and you're going to be exposed. And that's exactly what happened on Thursday night.
Paddy, do you feel there's a case, I'm going to get down the optimistic route, for hanging on in there till January? And obviously we played 2 games in January, don't we, for Europa League? If we can stay in the mix at that point, 10 points might get us through. We're on 6 at the moment with 4 games to play. If you maybe get 1 win before the turn of the year, maybe a win and a loss. Who have we got? Feyenoord and
Roma.
Oh, jeez. Maybe I can just cut this out. So you could still be in the mix at that stage, but only just if you can invest in January, and that is a big if. Of course it is. Maybe you still have a chance.
Absolutely. I think we look at that Feyenoord game coming up. That's a difficult one, but we're going over there. I think they've got a Park Stadium closure, and they've not been playing brilliant lately
They've got less points than us in the Europa League.
Yeah, so they've not been doing too well. It's not that team that we're kind of known for. Feyenoord are known for, they're normally knocking about in Europa League, and obviously sometimes popping up in the Champions League as well. So depends where we're at though. I just think these injuries are killing us now, and I feel that that's what we're also up against. But we've not got the squad this year. I would agree with you on that. I didn't when you spoke about it a few weeks ago.
I did, yeah.
No, but watching it,
You've seen these injuries coming.
Absolutely. But it was the game on Thursday. I thought we're not equipped as well. We just looked that level below, and I just feel like the hope of crawling to end of December and hoping to try and get some players in. We can't register any of those new players for that last 2 games as well. So it's a difficult one.
I was going to say, wait till we unleash Hayato and Amura on Europe's second biggest
He's
competition.
coming.
He can't make it. He's not in the squad, is he?
No, but he's going to be playing when we get back to the international break.
Aye, there's every chance of that.
Maybe.
Just on Feyenoord, you're heading across to Feyenoord.
Going to jump over,
You're
yep.
taking the motor.
Aye.
You've got a space. First 5 people to email. No,
absolutely not. After them probably listening to that wee ding dong Tino, they'll be like, I'm not sitting in a car with that guy.
Just for 2 days.
I know. It's no chance.
Just a healthy debate.
Especially, by the way, road rage is not my friend as well. So aye, don't do that.
What's the itinerary?
The itinerary? Stay sober.
Try get Newcastle.
No, we're driving down to Newcastle. We're in talks at the moment.
Talks are ongoing.
Maybe leaving the car in Newcastle. But we're going to take it over and drive down to Rotterdam from Amsterdam. And we'll be there on leaving the Wednesday, get there the day of the game, and then back home on the Friday evening.
Oh, nice.
Sounds good.
That'll be good fun.
So we've spoken about Europe and the challenges there, and whether we've got a chance of competing or not. But Hearts, on a domestic point, they're having a wee mini wobble.
So what about him yesterday?
We'll get to it.
So Celtic and Rangers would get it.
So they've drawn 2 of their last 3 games. They drew yesterday with Dundee United and with St Mirren, week or 2 back. And Derek McInnes bemoaning the lack of injury time, as if he's not the guy, and a former guys, whether it's at Kilmarnock or Aberdeen or wherever, or even at Hearts, who said, I can't believe they put on so much injury time. Now he's at the other side of the table. He's saying there's not enough injury time. And as you say, Paddy, if that were Celtic or Rangers, I think he said words along the lines of 100% fact they would be getting more minutes.
That's a fact.
That's enough to get you hauled up in front of the powers that be as well. But what do you make of it? Are they wobbling? Is he wobbling?
I think I said on the show, if I didn't, I said to the friends, Celtic will be top of the league by the end of the year. I said Christmas.
I've got something to just line up that question. Let me
Yeah,
ask it right now. Hearts next 5 games: Aberdeen away, Motherwell away, Kilmarnock at home, Celtic away, Rangers at home. And that Rangers game is on the 20th of December. Celtic, with the game in hand, have 6 games before Christmas. We've got St Mirren away, Hibs away, Dundee at home, Hearts at home, Dundee United away, and Aberdeen at home on the 21st of December. So our 6 versus their 5. There's a 7-point gap just now. Who's top at Christmas based on that? We've got 18 points to play for.
It's a tough run of fixtures for us as well, though.
See it.
That's
See it.
Hearts.
Oh, come on.
No,
Of course.
I don't think there'll be much in it because I would expect Hearts will drop there, but by no means certain that we'll pick up maximum points.
That's the problem. Yeah.
It's depending on the squad.
Hearts will drop.
Yeah, Hearts will drop more.
Yeah.
We could as well if we don't get players back.
So just give us an answer. You've done your dance. Who will be
He
top
said
of
Hearts.
Gers.
Hearts and goal difference.
Aye.
Hearts on goal difference. Do you think Celtic will edge ahead? I mean, the bottom line is we may have our bumps in the road, but actually, the bizarre thing is, I feel that if we were under the charges of O'Neill and Maloney, we'd take care of most of those games. I think they've shown themselves capable domestically. We've scored 11 in 3 games. A new man coming in would be good, but it might be a bit of unrest as we start to settle into his style of play or whatever. But I've no doubt, James, at this time, Hearts will drop points, I feel. It's one thing chasing the pack and being a plucky second or third. Being top dogs with Celtic breathing down your neck is very different.
I was really genuinely disappointed McKenna's coming out that yesterday because I think he's a good manager, but what he's shown is he's a good manager, but he's not got the mentality for it. That's a guy, that's a guy who doesn't know how to lead. Just he's setting an excuse culture for all his players. So see when you plummet down the league to like 4th or 5th or something, don't worry about it because with the referee's fault, it's not your fault. I think that's just shocking behaviour.
Yeah. Losers find excuses, Paddy.
Losers are excusers.
Love it. So you think Hearts might still be out in front? Do you think Celtic will be back on track?
Yes, I do.
Celtic top.
Yeah, I think so as well. Do you have any concerns about the new Rangers under Danny Rowe? Did you see his celebration yesterday?
Brilliant.
I thought that was cringy. So I've heard him chatting. We were chatting last week about how he seems quite a likeable guy. That's done. That's right. It's good.
Good.
Right out.
Because he seems all right. But they were giving it big licks, chanting his name despite his failings at Hampden and his failings in Europe and all that stuff. And he was about to walk out down the tunnel at Dundee and he doubled back to do a wee bit of
Hold on a minute.
a Ronnie roar, a Danny roar. I thought it was really cringe. That one took them up to 4th place in the table, by the way. See if that takes you up to top or gets you a final. Give it large if you want, but I thought it was a real sign of where they're at mentally at this moment in time.
Yeah, but you know, that is where they're at. You know, they've just been downtrodden by their own hand. So, good enough for them. If you actually watched their football, I didn't catch their game, which, being honest, I usually do. I had a busy Sunday. But if you watch their football, like their goals, it's the same stuff. It's set pieces, it's long shots. There's no football getting played. So nothing's really changed. They're just a bit more switched on.
Any thoughts?
Well, just they're accumulating points, so they're happy with that. I've never seen the game, but given that they weren't accumulating points, I think the Rangers fans will just be happy to celebrate, pick up 3. But is that 3 league games in a row they've won for the first time in a?
Yeah. But Mikey Moore's coming out saying you're back in this title race. It's like, shut up. You know, if you're a Rangers fan, you're like, just shut your mouth and get the points.
No, I don't love that. I don't love that.
Just on that, so Assam was on last week and Assam picked up some heat in the last week or two online because he still maintains that Rangers are the biggest threat. He feels Hearts bubble will burst, and when it starts to play out, the pecking order will start to shuffle back. Celtic will be top, Rangers second, Hearts third. Is that what you see happening? Is that what you see potentially playing out?
Are they not still like 12 points behind Hearts?
Oh, they're quite away. They're 5 behind us.
12 from year 7.
I think it's Celtic Hearts this season.
Celtic Hearts there.
Listen, I think they will go on a good run. The new manager bounce, we roll, but I just still don't think they'll. 12 points a lot to claw back.
New manager bounce is one thing, but when you've got Giga and Chermiti in your team,
Exactly.
you can only bounce so high.
You see, he put a picture of the Dundee United badge up on social media yesterday.
No, Chermiti.
Aye, like, it was like
he misses everything.
pre-match.
On and off
Pre-match
the
like
park.
Rangers v Dundee United. That's their own badge, pal.
Yeah. So we'll see how that all goes. Just slightly aside from Celtic, obviously we're getting an international break. Usually not much to get excited about, but Scotland have got a reasonable chance. They play Greece at home, Denmark away. Is that right?
Greece away.
And Denmark at home.
And Denmark at home.
With a chance to qualify for the first World Cup in 28 years.
Playoff spot
28
secured.
Playoff spot is good. Are you interested in that in any way, shape or form?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, John. Big fan. Get in the army.
Any
Get my Timbies looked at.
Aye.
Timbys in the kilt in your seat.
Desert Timbies in my kilt. The only problem with me wearing a kilt is you see no leg. Go straight to the Timby.
Any Celtic involvement, Tony Ralston? That's it?
Hey.
Easy. Yes, that would be. Oh. The Baniacs involved.
Yes.
Come on.
He could probably start.
Come on.
It's pretty well deserved. You know, I've seen there's a highlight reel doing the rounds of his season so far. He's had a big season. And he's shown a mental resilience. I really admire Scott Bain he could have sat on the wages at
For
Celtic.
Paul and Andy Halliday after that game. Remember Andy Halliday?
Best.
But he wanted to go and play football while he's still of an age to do so, and while I think his kid was able to see him play. So I think that's admirable. And to be in the Scotland squad, he deserves all that credit. And Craig Gordon, who's soon to turn 42, I think, who's barely played.
43.
Who's barely played. He's in the mix as well. Anyway, we'll move back off Scotland stuff to get your final thoughts for the week. James, where are you at?
International breaks are usually something where you're like, oh, it's killing our momentum, or, we were just on a wee run there. But I think it's
like you're doing an Edinburgh accent there.
Killing
the momentum, eh?
Killing momentum.
Take a wee bit of time back.
No, it's a good time for us to be catching this break, I think, because we're obviously not the fastest movers behind the scenes, so it gives them a bit of time to get their finger out.
If they move too quick, they'll pull a hamstring.
Well,
no
one else does, aye.
Topical.
So I'm hopeful, my hope is that these 2 weeks comes out with that kind of press release, not necessarily about a manager, but saying, we've had time to reflect and we understand that the structure could do with modernisation. We're going to approach that first, bring personnel in for that, and the manager will come with part of that process, and that'll happen, blah, 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 whatever. I wonder if they've had interviews with candidates and they've went, absolutely no chance, man.
It's very possible. AGM, of course, a week on Friday. We'll do some sort of focus on that towards the end of this week, if not early next week, because sparks could fly. Lots of stuff could happen, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Paddy, James mentioned it. Good time potentially for the international break. Do you agree with that? Final thoughts?
Yeah, I think so too. I think just a nice place at the moment. I think getting the 3 points convincingly yesterday was good all round. Really happy to see Engels taking some of the plaudits with that through ball. Ridiculous.
Brilliant.
And then nearly
Tony Ralston repeated the trick, by the way, and it was also a good ball.
Great pass. But no, just nice for us to sign off before the break with a win. But yeah, just that clarity. I think that all Celtic fans are just kind of wanting things to tick along. We want to back our team. We want to support our team at every given opportunity. And I just think it's been such a hazy feeling at the moment. It's been quite negative. I know we've not touched on the ban for the Green Brigade as well, but I do think there's an element of this ban was potentially sitting suspended. May as well just throw in all the bad news now while everything else is on us.
Get it all out.
Just get it all out there. I genuinely think there's a bit of that there. Just put something in.
Raging anyway.
It's a good
time to do it. Good time to do it. Hopefully after these 2 weeks it's all reflected and it's just a bit of a march on to the Christmas break. Even though there's not much of a break, but to be top by then that would be massive. I do think there is a bit of a resurgence for this, but we just need fit players as well.
Yeah, and I mean, hopefully that's the case. We do turn a corner, but there's no getting away from the fact that we are so disjointed and disconnected as a club across various facets at this moment in time. My final word goes to you.
Yeah, I do think the breaks came at a good time. We were debating that last night in the post-match, because when you win domestically so emphatically as we have done, kind of want to keep that up, but then subsequently with the injuries that we've had, and also just there's just constantly a news bulletin every day about the club when it's coming to the manager and things like that. Probably good to take a wee breather. Not too many players, I think, away in international duty, is it? They're all injured. They're the ones that would play. So no, it'll be interesting. Hopefully, is there empty due to come back by the time we come back? Any actual possibly due?
It's all a bit quiet on him, so not sure on that one. Johnson and Osmond are getting surgery tomorrow, Tuesday, so they'll be out for a time. We don't know about Sirachi. CCV's 5 months, so no is the answer.
Doesn't look like there's any reinforcements coming in. So yeah, just probably a good time, refresh the squad, and then go a game when we get back. Cause that's a big game away to St Mirren.
Yeah, two big games to come back to. Away to St Mirren and Paddy's fun bus to Feyenoord. Him plus one lucky listener. So that's all on this latest episode of Celtic Exchange Weekly. Thanks to James, Paddy and Miff for being here this week, but most importantly, thanks to you for continuing to back us here on Celtic Exchange. Remember, you can get exclusive access to all of our extra content on our Patreon at patreon.com/Celtic Exchange. And remember to send your answers to 5 in a row to tino@thecelticexchange.com for your chance to win a month of our Patreon for free. But all that aside, have a brilliant week. We'll see you back soon for the next one.